Hey everyone, happy Friday morning, Friday afternoon in Dublin. We made it to another weekend. But before that, Thomas Kinsella from Times. How are you, Thomas?
I am great. Happy Friday. It's a pleasure to be here.
That's fantastic to have you, and your day's almost over, so I'm sure you're a little excited for that. Maybe introduce yourself and Times, and what? Tell me about the name Times. It's a little unusual. A lot of us haven't heard of it. It sounds intriguing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Thomas. I'm one of the founders of Tynes. My background, I spent 10 years working in information security in various different
Mhm.
roles before starting the platform. Um, Tynes is a product it's a workflow automation platform, but it's built to
Mhm.
solve the problems that I had and that my team and my our co-founder, our CEO, had when we were working in security. So yeah, working in like security operations in various different roles, managing incident response and threat intelligence and security infrastructure, those sort of teams. But the work was really hard, and I'll talk to you loads about that later, I'm sure. Um, but yeah, we basically said we asked a lot of people, hey, how are you solving the challenges that a lot of security teams are still facing? Some people said automation. We looked at a lot of automation platforms, and to be frank, we didn't like them. So we said we could try to build our own workflow automation platform. So the name Tynes it actually originates like from the idea of like workflow automation is top to bottom there's a process, but typically there's loads of different branches in a process. So you could, trigger if it's a high priority alert, then maybe you'll isolate a host. If it's a low priority alert, maybe you'll create an information incident, and if it's medium, maybe you'll create a ticket or something like that.
Mm.
But if you imagine those branches, all of those branches are technically if the prongs in a fork are called tines, and the branches of like mechanical machinery are all known as tines. So yeah,
Ah,
we chose the name tines to represent represent the branches that you might have in workflows. Now in the product, there's just branches. Nobody calls them tines. But yeah, if you ask our CEO, he'll geek out because he loves odd words and yeah, I suppose the last thing's
well, it
coincidentally it's a
certainly is
five-letter
fun
word where you can win a
and
little bit.
memorable.
Yeah.
Um, so, every discussion I have on my show here, automation is king, right behind AI. That's of course, the world we live in on the hype side. But so, how do you stand out in the crowd when it comes to the ever expanding kind of security automation landscape?
Yeah, so like I suppose we're kind of the first of like a number of V2
Mhm.
like security automation products. So the way typical automation platforms work, even today, the vast majority of them, they work on kind of like point to point integrations and code. So you
Mhm.
have to really be a developer to know how to build an automation in any of the original security automation platforms.
Mm.
And that's fine if you are a really good developer and you have a really strong team, you probably will be able to, get some good value out of these. But when I was working in security, I didn't have a unlimited budget, and b a number of developers who wanted to spend their time working on like building an integration with Jira or automating a
Mm.
process to isolate a host if a CrowdStrike alert fired or something like that. So as you're looking at on the screen, we built a very simple drag and drop workflow builder. But the difference is that we make it so that anybody on the team, regardless of their background, regardless of their coding ability, is going to be able to automate. And the people that are closest to the process are going to be able to automate themselves. So if you're, a level one analyst who's automating for a, you know, small or medium sized company, but the process is like, okay, if it's an executive, we escalate automatically, but if not, we, you know, just create a ticket. You're going to be able to automate that process yourself, and we make it super simple. The other difference is as I said earlier, we don't really rely on any pre-built integrations. So in Tines, you don't have to again learn how to code, but you are able to integrate using, and you can see this on the screen, one of these boxes. So connecting to a custom in-house tool is going to be as simple as dragging and dropping and connecting to like something like Jira or ServiceNow or CrowdStrike or any other platform out there. We make it really easy so anybody who's familiar with the process is going to be able to automate. That's the big
Wow,
difference. Of course, AI and things like that changes a whole load, but it's interesting.
No, what a brilliant approach. So I imagine your message is, um, sort of scaling people in a time where we can't hire enough security operations people, um, and doing more with less. That seems like a good message for the times.
Yeah, sure enough, you're making our pitch for us. Unsurprising that is still the case. When I was working in industry, it was taking 6 to 9 months to hire a good security analyst.
Mm,
Um, and even then, when you hired a good security analyst, it took a while to train them up, but it also took a lot of effort to keep them happy. And if they're looking at the same alerts over and over and over again, they may very well stick with you for a year or 18 months, but ultimately they're going to take the experience they've gotten and they're going to move on to another job. It's not as if there's a
mm,
shortage of jobs out there for information security professionals even still. Um, so yeah, the whole thing is that you're going to enable them to automate away the boring, the tedious, the manual, build services and processes for other people on their team, and then allow them to focus on much more impactful company specific risk reduction efforts. I don't think anybody's like getting rid of too many security analysts these days. They're still very much in demand, but you just can't have them looking at like phishing emails and looking at adware alerts day in day out or suspicious login alerts. Those days are long gone. They have to
mm.
be they have to be processing and like looking at the like significant risks and vulnerabilities and processes. That's what they have to simple as these days.
Yeah, great point. So errors, mistakes can be pretty costly in cybersecurity. How do you mitigate the risk of automation errors? Workflows that break something. That must be a potential issue as well.
Yeah, absolutely, of course. So we're simple, but we're not simplistic. So again, like
Hmm.
working in information security and also working with some of the best customers out there. We've got really smart, like security customers, the likes of Elastic and Sophos and McAfee, as well
Mm,
as like incredibly sophisticated security conscious organizations. Some federal government institutions, some, like crypto companies like Coinbase, etc.,
mm,
and large and small companies, but all of them they rely on automation. And as you say, if there's a mistake, it can throw off it can cause just as much damage as, well, maybe not quite as much damage, but it can certainly cause harm. We make it so that you can build in extremely like sophisticated alerting and b like error handling in the product. So a good example is if you're trying to automate a process but you get rate limited because there's an api that rate like that says, hey, you've fired too many requests. That's a
mm,
good thing. You're automating a lot, but it's a bad thing. So a very simple process, hey, just to allow you to retry on status. So simply in
mm,
your workflow, we will suggest that simply click a button and it will do a smart retry exponentially every time it gets a 49 or whatever,
hmm.
and it will retry automatically over the next 3.5 hours 25 times. Really simple. You can make that as complex as you want. You can go longer, you can go shorter, you can increase the velocity, etc. Same if a workflow breaks. So if, for example, you're expecting an alert every single like day, you can specify, hey, if I don't get any alerts for 48 hours, send me an email, send me a message to my Slack, send me
Mm.
an alert to my phone, send me an alert to PagerDuty to say, hey, this is something's gone wrong in my workflow. As well as things like, just I suppose making it super simple to graph, to record, to report, but we make it so that I suppose as you're building, you're keeping that reliability in mind because
Mm.
the best security teams, they can't afford to have these processes broken or these automations not working.
Yeah, I love that. So that sounds like quite an underrated feature. Any other features that come to mind that you think are really killer use cases or workflows that people should consider?
uh, like like killer use cases or features, there's loads. So
Mm,
my job, I'm like one of the founders, but I also work with I run our customer success team. So every single customer who like signs up, they get onboarded, they get a dedicated customer success engineer, dedicated customer success manager, and we help them like onboard in the platform.
mm,
Better than that, though, because they're working with other customers, we try to pair them up with with some of the team that have worked with like similar customers before, they get to share that knowledge. So it's such a pleasure. I get to work with really smart customers every single day, every single week. But what we do is we learn from what they're doing. And if somebody's like, oh, like a good example right now is like QR code phishing is like just all over the
Mm,
place for whatever reason. It's like,
terrible.
hey, one customer is going to ask, hey, how are you dealing with this? And we may not have an answer. We like, yeah, that's a hard one. We can think about it. But sure enough, if we ask one or two of our other customers, they'd be like, oh yeah, actually we're, automatically scanning all these URLs in this particular tool, or we're using a tool like Sublime Security and they're really helping with this problem. I can then share that knowledge because we're working with like lots of other great companies. I can share that knowledge with everybody else, every single one of our other customers, and say, hey, here's some things. So, one of the things we do is we have a story library. So, that library, if you go to library or tines.com/library, it's basically just several hundred example workflows from our customers. And they can be extremely simple. Like, hey, I received a suspicious login or alert from my SIM. Uh, Contact the user on Slack and say, do you recognize this activity, Evan? And if you recognize this activity, we'll close it. If you don't, maybe we'll send an incident on PagerDuty to the security team, something like that. So you can see all these workflows here, and they're broken down by team as well, and by use case, and even by tool if you want to search for your security tools here. But the fun part is that our customers submit some of these as well. So we've got like customers that have shared, hey, this is how I manage patches. This is how I like process my SIM alerts. This is how I process my cloud security alerts, or even this is how I offboard and onboard users, or this is how we, like build services for other teams. So it's a really cool way of, sharing the latest and greatest that our customers are doing. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, the customers also. I think, as you know, security is really hard, right? So, like a lot of the time, it's not necessarily the pride, but like the job, the success you get is I prevented that incident, or I detected that incident and I responded to it really well, or I patched that machine before something went wrong. Unfortunately, like preventing something from happening doesn't get you a whole lot of kudos. So if you're trying to, tell your manager, tell the chief information security officer, even if the chief information security officer is trying to tell the product team, hey, this is what I've done. The metrics of 10,000 alerts a day, all those can be gamed and they all look like fake. To be honest, some of them are real, but they don't come across very well.
Mm.
But showing, hey, here's a process that I was doing manually and I've now automated it. And now not only have I automated it, I've shared it with the like wider community. Tines is, if you want to sign up, you can sign up for free on tines.com. That you get 3 free use cases where you can sign up with your Gmail, you can sign up with your work email, but you can share that with the community, and then the community can start learning and like basically using your process. That's a really cool way to showcase the work that you've done, and say like, hey, actually some of the work that I've done is like cutting edge, and now there's 10 other companies or 20 other companies or 50 other companies that are using my workflow to help protect them. And also, yeah, you're obviously helping protect your own company. So it's loads of fun seeing what our customers do and seeing how they automate and how they build.
Wow, that's quite a community you built. Well done. That's no small effort. Beyond the
Thank you.
technology, you must have. There are so many interesting stories, customer stories, anecdotes on the website, references. Do you have a favorite story or two you might want to share about a company's, automation effort?
Yeah, there's genuine, yeah, genuinely hundreds. The most recent one I heard. So we started organically, actually. Like as I said, my background is in security, and a lot of our
Mm,
team, we spent time in security, and the product itself was built for security teams.
right.
Um, but organically, people started using the platform outside of security. So
All right.
during a security incident, people could be like updating Jira tickets automatically with threat intel or indicators or something like that. Same, like the security team will frequently be charged with making sure when a user is like exited from an organization that they have to delete all their accounts. So maybe she did something wrong and you have to lock all the accounts immediately, or he just like was leaving and you wanted to like disable all their accounts.
Mm,
Frequently what happens is Yeah, frequently what happens is that the IT team will be like, "Well, hold on a second. You just automated the process of like it was 5 p.m. They left the building, and then all their accounts were disabled within like 5 minutes. What just happened here? Because it takes us a week to get all their accounts set up. How did you
Wow.
do this?" And the security team will say, "Oh, we're using Tines," and then the IT team will
Mm,
say, "Oh, how do I get a handle on that?" And uh, like it's great, they will sign up, they will come to us, and we will help them build out the onboarding process. But one of the ones, I was actually at a meeting with a customer recently in their office, and it was fun, and they just said like, "Hey, check this out," and we were in their meeting room, and they had like a little QR code on the table, and the QR code opened up so in Times you can kick off workflows using like basically a form or an app.
mm,
But they had a little workflow that said, "Hey, this meeting room isn't working," and it did something very simple. It just created a ticket in the service desk of that IT team.
mm,
Uh, it took the meeting room offline in the company's like booking calendar. It sent a meeting or like a message to all future meeting invitees for that room saying, "Hey, this room is actually there could be something wrong with it." The IT team investigate, the IT team like remediate the issue, and then they like bring the room back online. I was like, it's so like that's actually not a hard system. All you're doing is creating a ticket from a simple form and like checking guests in Google Calendar. But the ability to, I suppose, have a self-service model for anybody that, yeah, it's just like trivial to set up. It was just really cool, and I was like, oh man, I'm super impressed. That was one of my fun ones from the last couple of days, I suppose.
yeah, that is fun. I mean, I use some personal automation workflows for my little business, the If Then and Zapier, some others,
Yeah,
but they're really not sort of enterprise grade. So this sounds like a cool option, even for a small business like me.
yeah, absolutely, and like they do a really good job. Like yeah, I'm not sure I trust my like yeah my company's operations to them, but for simple whatever, get an invite and update Google Calendar or
Right.
leave the house and turn on the lights or something like that. Like they're all really powerful, but they speak to the power and the opportunity for automation that if you enable people to solve their own tasks, they're gonna start like identifying hundreds of ways to do it better. Just yeah, we allow them to chain and then build a service for other people. So maybe it's hey, anybody can use this workflow to automate a process internally. Anybody can sync their calendar to Notion or something like that. All you have to do is
Mm.
subscribe and you'll be able to do it. So it's
And
really fun seeing what our customers are doing.
I bet. So one of the challenges you must have in large enterprise is integration with existing processes and legacy systems, and there's just a ton of technical debt out there that stops a lot of new initiatives. How do you kind of overcome some of those challenges, and how can new customers integrate into systems that maybe aren't as open or don't have APIs existing or documented?
Yeah, so there's a few a a few different ways. Like if you don't have an API, it is just in general gonna be really difficult
Hmm.
to connect to the tool. Sometimes there's wrappers that you can write around.
Hmm.
Sometimes you can use something like RPA to screen scrape. We don't like have screen scraping like natively, but
Hmm.
we've got plenty of customers that are using that with one or two legacy tools. A lot of the time though, so with Tines you don't actually have to like have a because you don't have to have an integration. If there's any sort of API, if there's or a database in the back end, you're going to be able
Hmm.
to connect to it. So even if they've got like a really like old soap API or something like that, you're going to be able to connect very quickly to it and
Hmm.
automate that process. The other thing though that you can do, which is really cool, so is that you can have like a person in the middle steps. So what that means is that you can like have a let's say like your offboarding users. So you're disabling the accounts of people in 10 different systems, but there's an 11th system where maybe it's you have to manually remove them from the like whatever from the payroll system and there's no API for the payroll system.
Hmm.
You can like create a workflow, and that step can simply be like, hey Evan, I want you to do this. It sends you an email or creates a ticket or sends you a message on Slack. And then once you do that, it will yeah, like allow you click a button and it will continue the rest of the workflow and say, hey, this is like this is actually complete. So that like human in the loop step is really powerful. The fun part about that as well is you can imagine the human in the loop step can get like those alerts can get really annoying if it's
Mm.
actually me saying like, hey Evan, will you do this? You haven't actually like performed this. But if it's like Tines or like sending you a message on Slack, or the reminder bot sending you a message on Slack, or on Microsoft Teams or whatever, you can kind of get away with like nagging that person a little bit more.
Mm.
So the real common ones are, I might want to ask my engineering team to patch a server, and I give them 30 days. That's our SLA, and they will patch that server once they get around to it. But if they don't, it's, hey, send them another reminder. Here's like how to patch. Here's the instructions, all automated again. Like here's
Mm.
details about every single thing you need to take. But after another week they haven't responded, it's really easy to like look up their manager and send them another message, or send them a third message or a fourth message. But the fun part is that like you don't have to track, you don't have to follow up. You're just like using the like process, using the workflow to simply like nag them a little bit more. And then if they say, hey, I fixed it, you can go out and verify and say, actually, well, we checked and it looks like you may accidentally have made a mistake here, and like click this button and said I fixed this, whereas maybe they just didn't. They didn't fix. They were just trying to get the off their back, but get the nagging off their back. But again, because it's not a human who has to do anything, you're able to say like, no, hey, you didn't. Like, just go back and fix this.
I love
So
that.
for the legacy systems, it's sometimes it's human, sometimes there is a way of doing it, but you're able to get around the process by these like non-human, or the human in the loop systems. It's pretty nice.
That's fantastic. So the future is pretty bright with what you're doing. So many use cases, opportunities, and scenarios. You must be thinking a lot about Gen AI and AI and what that might offer. Anything you can share at this point? I know we're in the hype phase, so it's sort of early days for real practical applications.
Totally. And like, so we've got a couple of different simple things. The very simple things that
Mhm.
like a lot of our customers are doing is enriching some security processes, or sorry,
Mhm.
security alerts, or
Mhm.
security incidents with details. So a good example is let's say, there's some Windows security alert that says, hey, TI0072 has like been edited or something like that. I've no idea what this means. AI will absolutely be able to tell you a lot about that and give you some context and
Mm.
say, hey, this is possibly some recommended next steps. That's free. That's really easy to do. It'll give you some context. The more interesting part is obviously that automation part, right? So how can you say something like, um, you know, every time I get an alert from my like Windows Defender, or every time I get an alert from my SIM, create a ticket and build a workflow like that. What we found is that's accurate and works amazingly about 60% of the time, and then 40% of the time it's an absolute disaster, and it looks like it works, but it doesn't function. What we're building now is like some of the individual steps that you can take. It could be modifying data. AI is actually really good at that. AI is extremely good at like connecting to basic tools that it knows about, but you still need the confidence, and that's what like the enterprise features that we have. You need the confidence that your system is going to work. So you need like checks, like test cases. You need versioning. You need an audit log. You need like history, so that you can roll back if you want. You need the uptime, the reliability, and the guarantee that like the process is going to function the way you want it to function. And that's what I think AI is missing at the moment. But when combined with a system like Tines, it can be extremely powerful. The barrier to entry right now is extremely low for, hey, do like get X, do Y. As you said,
Mm.
like Zapier, or if this and that, do a fantastic job at some of those. The bits around like retrying, throttling, deduplicating, around saying, hey, actually this person did edit this at this particular time, or in this particular circumstance, maybe back off for 20 minutes and try again. That logic, that business logic, is and the reliability is something that we think a lot about, because that's how the system is going to be trusted in the future. And when for our enterprise customers, they're just not ready to move directly to an AI system, but it's 100% coming in. It's definitely going to disrupt, and it's going to be fun to see what comes out over the next couple of years, to be honest, and maybe even
Indeed.
sooner, maybe even a couple of months. So
Yeah, moving fast and
I'm looking
breaking
forward to it.
things, not a good strategy when it comes to enterprise security, unlike,
No,
startups.
not great. Not what most people are looking for. But like, if you're able to, like, iterate, test fast, and
Mm,
like have guarantees that it's working, then yeah, I'm prepared to move. But I'm very bullish on it. But I'm not confident that that we're going to be disrupted immediately. Immediately anyway.
got it. So, just a final thought. We're all out and about at conferences and events and meetups, get-togethers, which has been great. Anything on the radar the rest of the year for you or the team? Any events, workshops? What are you looking forward to most?
Yeah, on a very personal level, I'm getting married in about 6 weeks, so
Oh,
that's my
congratulations!
like
Well, that should be your
what I'll be
focus, let's
spending.
say.
Absolutely, but there are some really big events that we've got going on. There was just recently we just came back from Falcon, which is a big
Mm,
CrowdStrike conference. This week we're speaking at a T-Mobile event in Canada. That's going to be exciting. There's a really cool small security startup called Limit Charlie. They've got an event in Virginia today, I believe it is, which is like they're a super. If you get a chance to have some of those guys on, they're really fun. There's some. I suppose a lot of the big security conferences like RSA and Black Hat are over
mhm.
in the US. They're like on early next year. But there's one or two. So Black Hat Europe is on in like November, or I think it's early December, and that's going to be
Oh,
fun.
nice.
As well as I think there's a few like Elastic and like some other partner conferences that are going on over the next few weeks. So yeah, there's some really cool conferences, but my focus is going to be uh on a personal. I'm getting married in a couple of weeks, so
All
it'll
right.
be fun.
Well, mazel tov on that. And thanks so much for
Thank you.
sharing your insight. And it's been really fun and interesting chatting with you. But then again, it's always fun and interesting chatting with people in Ireland. So it's never a dull moment. But yeah, you guys are clearly the right place at the right time and are just doing amazing work. So thanks for spending some time sharing your outlook. And thanks everyone for watching. Reach out to Tynes with any questions, comments, ideas. I'm sure they'll get back to you.
Thank you so
Okay.
much for having me. It was a
Thanks,
real
Thomas.
pleasure.